The word Patanjali has been known to the entire world in the last couple of years. But if you had heard about the word Patanjali maybe in the early 90s, you wouldn't have recognized it. So let's know who Patanjali is, what Patanjali is, and what it means with respect to yoga. I'm Harsha Nagaraj. Welcome back. Patanjali is a Maharshi, what we call as a great sage. Who is Patanjali? Patanjali is the author, is what a lot of people call, but I'd say he is the one who's responsible for the entire text of yoga, which was written in the form of sutras. Sutras means formulas. Hence, we call the text as the Yoga Sutras. Since it's written by the sage Patanjali, we call the text as Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. So Patanjali is a Maharshi, a great sage who wrote the entire text of yoga in the form of sutra, or what we call as aphorisms, so that it's easy to understand, it is easy to memorize, and it is easy to be passed on from one generation to another. Let's come to the main discussion now. Why was he named as Patanjali? Why was the sage named as Patanjali? There's a story behind it. Patanjali, if you divide the word, Pata, Anjali. Pata means palm. Anjali means offering. To offer something is what we call as Anjali. There's a story behind this. There was once a yogini by the name of Gonika who had this urge of wanting to experience motherhood. And after years and years of whatever the sadhana she had done, nothing was possible for her. So as a last resort, she goes to a nearby river where she was doing the sadhana. And it's usually a very common habit in India to take a palm full of water, holy water, and face the sun and offer it as a oblation to the sun lord. So she does the same. She goes to a nearby river, takes a palm full of water, turns towards the sun, and offers a palm full of hand, Pata, offering Anjali, offers it down, says, okay, this is my last resort, do whatever you wish for. And then, once she was about to offer the water back into the river, a small snake is said to have dropped down from her palm onto the water, and from that is supposed to have arisen a fully grown man, and hence the name Patanjali. Pata, palm. So this Gonika, the yogini, offered a palm full of water as an offering, and from there a fully grown man was supposed to have come out of it, and as a result of which he was named as Patanjali. Pata, Anjali. So Patanjali is a sage who came as an offering to the mankind itself. Not just, there's a very deep meaning to it. So you have to understand this. And you have to know another very, very important thing now. The text of yoga, which was written in the form of formulas or sutras, this dates back at least 2,500 to 3,000 years. It's very old. Back then, everything was orally transmitted from the student to the disciple, so on and so forth. Nothing was written. We didn't have handwritten materials like how we had today. Everything was orally transmitted from the teacher to the disciple. So when something is orally transmitted, it's better if it's concise, right? You can't explain a text which runs pages together and expect the other person to remember each and every word. It's not possible. So if something is given as a formula, very crisp, very concise, it's much easier. I mean, you can't go wrong with the formulas. I mean, imagine like how you solve mathematical problems when you were in school. And let's accept one more thing. It's very easy for you to memorize and remember the formula if there's a lot of repetition that happens. But once you remember the formula, you can solve the problems just like that. It's as simple as that. Imagine you have a solution for a problem which runs pages together. Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer something where you have just one formula, maybe like 20, 30 letters that has one formula and you get the solution to all your problems? Or you just have you have to run through the content which runs through pages together, and then which one do you prefer? You definitely prefer a formula. So Patanjali wrote the text of yoga in the form of sutras, what we call as aphorisms or formulas. And then 196 sutras that he wrote came to be known as the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. But there's a very important story that you have to know as to how he came into. I just told you about the story of the yogini Gonika and she offering as a final oblation a palm of water, and as a result of which a fully grown man came out of. There's a story behind this. Listen to this carefully. There was once an assembly of gods and goddesses, and Lord Shiva, in the form of Shivatandava, was expressing and he was sharing his knowledge of yoga to all the gods and goddesses who were assembled over there. And one among them was Vishnu also. And Vishnu's Vahana is Adishesha. Adishesha is the serpent snake. Or serpent snake, yeah, snake. And Vishnu was seated on Adishesha. And Shiva started to sharing his knowledge of yoga. The vibrations were so intense. Vishnu's body, the physical body, was becoming very heavy and it was starting to tremble. It was very, very difficult for Adishesha to get a hold of what was exactly what's happening. And as a result of which, Adishesha was almost about to Vishnu was almost about to, what do you say? Yeah, Vishnu's body was very heavy, it was trembling, and it was about to trip. And then finally, Adishesha somehow managed to, make sure, okay, Vishnu has seated on him. And then Shiva continued whatever he was doing. And then finally, everything came to an end. After all of this happened, Adishesha asks Vishnu, what exactly happened? What happened? Because he hadn't experienced something like this. And then Vishnu says, Shiva was sharing his knowledge of yoga, Hatha Yoga, in the form of Shivatandava. And the vibrations were so intense, I just couldn't bear it anymore. Adishesha was blown away. He was flabbergasted, surprised. It just blew him. He was like, okay, this must be something really unique. And I think I want to study it. I think I want to experience it. And he asks Vishnu, I wish to learn what Shiva just shared with all of you guys. He says, okay, I wish to be born as a human in order to study this entire path of yoga, to study this entire text of yoga. It's not possible over there in Devaloka. So what happens is he chooses to be born to this yogini who was offering a palm full of water as a final oblation because she wanted to experience motherhood. Patanjali chose her, or in other words, Adishesha, who was Vishnu's Vahana, chose Gonika to be born as her son. And he fulfilled her wish of experiencing motherhood, and he fulfilled his own wish of being born as a human to study this entire text of yoga. And then he studies all the different texts, goes through the human life, and after that he writes his own text, his own interpretation of yoga in the form of sutras, and there you have Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. 196 sutras was divided into 4 different chapters. Samadhipada was the name of the first chapter. Sadhanapada was the name of the second chapter. Vibhuti Pada, name of the third chapter. Kaivalyapada, the name of the fourth chapter. The four chapters, four different padas, also refer to four different varanas or four different stages of life, which is the brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyasashrama. The study stage of life, the family stage of life, the retirement stage of life, and what exists beyond that. The entire growth of a human or a sadhaka or a practitioner is there in this text. So Patanjali is the one who wrote this text in the form of formulas. And what does this say? This gives you everything that you need to know about how to evolve once you are born onto Mother Earth as a blank slate. It's as simple as that. Not every one of us are born with all the knowledge that we seek. I'll tell you one thing. I feel more happy today because I was blank. Why? Because I could experience all these things. All of us, or maybe some of us, they wish they had this, they wish they knew this. No, it doesn't make any sense. If you really deserved it, you would have had it already. I feel so blessed that I don't have a lot of things because I know I can get that. I can work towards it and I can feel complete after getting it. Sometimes you don't even value things when you just hand it down, when it is handed to you freely. You never value it. Even I myself, I value things when I have to fight for it, and when I get it, I cherish it. The reality of life is what you understand, is what you get by studying the text of Yoga Sutras. Patanjali is the great sage who wrote the text of yoga in the form of sutras, what we call as formulas, so that the entire mankind can read it, can practice it, apply it, implement it, experience it, and grow from it. And last but most important one, share it with everyone. So Patanjali is not a brand of a toothpaste or a brush. It may be now, but understand who Patanjali is. If you're a yoga student, if you're an aspiring yoga teacher, dig deep into understanding who Patanjali is. Search. I'm giving you a very brief explanation of who he is, but there's a lot of things. If you have seen a statue of Patanjali, the upper body is usually in the form of a human, the lower body is the form of a snake. Why? Because he's half human and half snake. Why is it? Why is it so? I told you, Patanjali is an incarnation of Adishesha. We also call Patanjali as Swayambhu. Swayambhu means he wished to be born as a human. Swa Icha. What do I say? He wished to be born as a human. Swayambhu is that person who, in spite of reaching the state of godliness, wishes to be born as a human so that they experience whatever they wish to experience. So Patanjali wanted to experience, he wanted to undergo this journey of yoga. So he came to earth. He wished to be born as a human, and he's also called as Swayambhu. So if you're really interested, I'll share the link of the text and the entire text of Yoga Sutras. You can also purchase books. There are a lot of people who have written commentaries on the Yoga Sutras. You have n number of people who have written commentaries on different chapters of Yoga Sutra also. Go through it. I'll definitely be sharing my insights and a lot of other expert teachers' insights onto the entire text of Yoga Sutras starting from today. And I hope this will be beneficial for you. I hope this was informative. If you have anything you wish to share, please leave them in the comments below. From the next video onwards, I'm going to start sharing one sutra after another of the entire text of Yoga Sutras until we reach the 196 sutras. I'll see you in the next one.